Story. My name is Amanda, a student of Nsukka studying business admin. I'm in my final year and about to graduate, but I need to tell Izu I'm no longer interested in him. I don't know how he's going to take it, seeing as he was the one who sponsored me through school, but I can't see my life with him. I met Uzu one day while I was going to the market for my auntie. I lost my parents when I was small, so my auntie took me in, but she treated me like a house girl. I was the one that took care of her kids, cooked and cleaned the house. I suffered a lot under my auntie. So when I met Uzu, I was so happy. Uzu would buy me plenty of things and pamper me. I told him how my auntie refused to give me the money for jam. Uzu told me not to worry about it, that he would give me the money. And true to his words, he did. I wrote jam without my auntie knowing. I passed and got admission into Nsukka. When I eventually told my aunt, she was so angry. She accused me of stealing from her. If not, how did I get the money to buy the jam from? I told her I got it from a friend. There is no name my auntie did not call me that day. She said I was sleeping around with men, that I was a slut. She threw my things out of the house and sent me packing. I was crying and begging her to let me stay, at least till I can find somewhere else. But she locked her door and closed her gate on me. I packed my things and went to meet Uzu at his shop. I told him everything that happened, and he told me to stop crying, that he would take care of me. I was surprised. Someone that is not my father, my brother or relative. Uzu took me to his sister's place. He told me I can stay with her till I move to the hostel in Nsukka. I asked him how I was going to pay for my school fees and hostel when I did not have any money, but he promised me that he would take care of everything. I screamed and I jumped on him. I asked him again to be sure of what I heard, and he said he would sponsor me through school. But that was where I stopped jumping. I asked him what the but is. He smiled and looked at me in a funny way. He took my hand and told me he loves me, that if I promise to marry him, he will make sure I finish school and become a graduate. I was scared because I was just 19 years old while Uzu was 28. What did I know of marriage and love? Yes, I liked him very much, but I was not thinking of marriage at that point. He told me if I wasn't interested in marrying him, he can't help me because he has nothing to gain. He asked me, "Don't you want to be a graduate?" I nodded my head. He hugged me and told me he would take good care of me. That night, he took me to his house and made me sleep with him. I cried all throughout the night when he had fallen asleep. I knew I wanted to be a graduate, and a graduate I was going to be at all costs. I accepted his proposal to marry him after school. He paid for all my school materials and hostel. He would come to my hostel lodge to see me every week. And even when I was on my period, he would insist that we have sex. I would agree after a whole lot of begging. One day, he came to see me at my hostel when I was sick. He bought me a lot of provisions, bags and shoes. Then at night, he asked me to open my legs for him. When I said no, he forced me. I cried, but he told me to make me feel better. I started to hate Uzu, but I knew I couldn't do anything since he was the one taking care of me. After that incident, I never said no to him again. He started spending more on me and I started saving. I saved a whole lot of money and opened a shop where I was selling pure water and small provisions like garri, sugar and groundnuts. When I was in class, I had someone working for me. When I got to my final year, Izu told me we should start preparing for our wedding. I was afraid if I told him no, he would suspect I wasn't interested anymore. So I told him, okay, let me talk to my auntie about it. But Ozu became upset. He asked me why I had to tell my auntie when she abandoned me. I explained to him that she was the only relative I had left and I can't marry without her consent. At the end, he saw reasons with me and he told me to give him an answer when next he comes. I knew I wasn't going to ask my auntie anything. She never cared about me, so why should I ask for her consent? But I needed time. So the next time Uzu came, I told him my auntie was out of town. And her husband told me when she comes back, I can come see her. I used that to keep Uzu waiting for 3 months. When he couldn't take it anymore, he told me to pack up and let's go and see her together. I became annoyed and asked him why he did not believe me. I got so angry. Izu started calming me down. He begged me to forgive him. He just wanted us to get married before I go for my youth service. According to him, he had heard lots of stories of how girls are promiscuous in camp and he doesn't want to lose me. I told him I was not one of those girls, that he was the only man I have been with, that I only have eyes for him, and to prove him right, I made his favorite food for him. And at night, I gave him all the styles I knew how to. He called my name all through the night and I knew I did a very good job. He continued to lavish me with money and forgot the marriage issue for a while. One day, while I was seated at the shop, a customer came over to buy pure water. He introduced himself as Ike. He bought a set of pure water and packed them into his car boots. Then he asked me for my name. I told him my name is Amanda. He told me I was beautiful and asked for my number. I was reluctant to give him, so every evening, Ike would branch to my shop to see me and buy pure water from me. He did this for a whole week till I eventually gave him my number. And that's how we started talking. I told him I have a boyfriend, but he didn't mind being a friend. He'd come to the shop to spend time with me. He was also a student at Nsukka, but he was doing his master's degree. He told me he just got a lodge around the area, and I was welcome to visit him anytime. I told him I wasn't interested, but thanked him all the same. Few weeks later, when Uzu came to visit, he insisted on the marriage plans, even if it was just the introduction before I graduated. This time, no bedroom style or delayed tactic worked. I told him I would get back to him once I talked to my people. I planned on going to see my umuna, even though they never cared about me after my parents died. A week later, I went over to my auntie's house to see her first, and it was there I learned that her husband and kids had relocated abroad. I was downcast. Yes, I know my auntie was terrible and never really cared for me, but for some weird reason, I felt so sad. She was, after all, the only family that I knew. I fell ill after I got back home. When Uzu came over, he took me to the hospital. I was told I had malaria. When we got back, Uzu took care of me, and to my surprise, he never disturbed me for sex. He was so caring that I even started thinking of changing my plans. When I got better, I resumed class and went back to my shop. It had been closed for 2 weeks due to my health, and the person I had hired had quit. Later that day, Ike came over to the shop. He asked me how I was and why I never answered his calls. I told him I was ill. He told me how much he missed me and how he always stopped by the shop every day only to see that it was closed. He took me out after I closed for the day. We ate, we drank, and we danced. I had so much fun. For the first time in such a long time. Then it was time to go, and although I tried not to, I eventually followed Ike back to his house. We made love all through the night. It was the best I had ever had, even though it was just Izu I had been with. I told Ike everything about myself and Izu. I told him I had no choice. That's why I accepted his marriage proposal. Ike promised me he would take care of me. He told me I didn't have to marry Izu. I felt at peace in his arms. I didn't want to ever leave. Izu has called me to tell me his people will be coming to see mine in 2 weeks. My problem now is, how do I tell him I'm no longer interested in marrying him after he sponsored me through school?